here, Northeastern Dirt and Property Maintenance. We're working on this greenhouse again today. We've got pretty much all the mainframe superstructure up on this greenhouse. And now we're working on the doors, front and rear doors, and the windows. And as you can see, we got one of the top windows. Each end of the greenhouse gets one of these windows here. Actually, they're a venting window, basically. Open them, close them for cross breeze. You can open these or open your doors, whatever. Sorry for end-to-end breeze. And that's really all they are. They're on hinges. And they just swing open and close. You can either open these and leave them open and leave the man door closed, or vice versa. Whatever you want to do. So anyway, 2 of these and 2 doors. And that's what we're working on today. And there is your man door right there. And there's all your framework for your man door. You just bolt it together as per instructions. And put your polycarbonate sheeting on there. It's got framework all the way around the doors. So on this job here, you have to have an excavator in the shop to set your hand drill or your impact on.
So is it on the inside or the outside? Are there any screws on the outside?
I'm thinking the flathead portion is going to have to go.
No, I meant these holes or these holes, but I think it is these holes. That's right, that's for the other.
See, when you're building a greenhouse like us and there's 10,500 steps, sometimes you're just guessing. It's always a fun little build when no one has died on the build. Only does it become not fun when a big beatdown happens on the job site.
Yeah, by me.
Lift your end up just a touch. Okay. That's good for the moment anyway. So we bolted in that top window. I guess you could call it a window, call it a vent, whatever you want. And there we go. And that's it. And then afterwards we'll put the latches, the door latches, window latches on there, and
then you move them.
There we go. Now we'll move on to the door. All right, so the door and the window's on there. And the only reason I didn't rip off this UV protective barrier, because when you build this greenhouse, this side has to be out all the time, and it's labeled right there on there. Your UV protected side, this always faces outward toward the sun. And the only reason I didn't take it off was because we're handling the door so much off and on, and I didn't want to scratch that UV protectant. So now Okay, good morning everybody. We just bought our 6x6 timbers, rough cut timbers, red pine here, and too heavy to handle, and they're still a bit wet. So I brought them in here. I'm going to cut them up, square up the ends. We need 6 of them by 10 feet long for the base of this greenhouse. So I'm going to get the ends cut square, get them exactly 10 feet long, and we'll go from there. That's where we are now. Everything's cut. We're all done there. So now we are going to... Now I'm kind of stuck on these 6x here because they're wet. They're green. I can't seal them, and I don't want to seal them while they're wet. So I said, we're not stopping. I think what we're going to do, we're going to put the base under the greenhouse, lag it down and everything else. We're going to completely keep going with a greenhouse build without treating these at all. And then what may have to happen is when I get this on the base outside, I may end up having to soak these down with used motor oil later on and treat them as best as I can in place over there, because I do not want these. These things are really heavy and they're really wet. And I don't think we're going to get, the way he cut them, looks good. And I don't think we're going to get any twisting on these. But you never can tell, but I don't think so. I don't see any cracks in these. I don't see anything with these that are all kittywampus right now either. And that are going to look prone to twisting. So we're going to continue on with this, but I'm not going to seal them. I was going to seal them till I realized how wet and heavy they are. These timbers are green. And I don't want to seal moisture in these timbers, so we're going to do a layout, put them underneath the greenhouse, and I don't want to do it that way, but I don't think I have a choice right now, because we are not going to stop progress on this, because I want this greenhouse out of the shop. It's taken up room, and I want it done, and it's a time-consuming job to build this greenhouse, I'll tell you that right now. Okay, so we're off. We're going to put them underneath the greenhouse.
All right, this is impressive. Milwaukee driver. 10-inch log cabin screw that I ordered on Amazon for this job with a Torx bit. And watch this thing sink these puppies in there. Very impressive. Full power Milwaukee right there. 10-inch log cabin screw. That's impressive. I can't say I've ever drilled anything like that. Right there. And I got these screws on Amazon. They're for log cabin building, but I thought they'd be ideal for these 6x6s. Mind you, this is red pine, but I don't care. It still hammers them in there pretty good. That's impressive. Seriously. All right. All the panels are on. Every polycarbonate panel's on. All the way around here, complete, top to bottom. So now what you have to do is, I will show you. Sorry. Okay, so all the polycarbonate panels are now on this greenhouse. It's 100% complete as far as panels. And now you got one thing to do to the roof yet. You gotta put on this galvanized ridge cap. This ridge cap goes the full length of the greenhouse, simple ridge cap, just like that. It bolts together. Full length of the greenhouse, you set it on top, and then you run hoop straps on every one of these trusses all the way along. So there would be 2, 4, 6, there's 7 straps that anchor this whole greenhouse. and pull down on the top cap to the foundation. That's it really. And then I have to put the vent windows in. I got 2 vent windows, but before you put this top cap on, and after watching several videos, I see something you should do. You don't have to do it, but I'm gonna do it. Is I'm gonna go along and I'm gonna tape all these seams, and I'll show you outside here what I'm talking about. Have a look here. All right, this one's a little rough. This was my first one, just getting this going. So I'll show you. You gotta tape these seams right here in between each panel. If you look, there's your, this one's been taped already. Oh no, it hasn't. Sorry, I just taped the first one. So every seam between every panel, every truss, I'm gonna put tape on there. And this one you can see, and you figure, how are you gonna get up there to tape these? Well, I got kind of a kitty cobbled way to do it. So I want to tape every seam on these polycarbonate panels on the outside. I don't want water, and I don't want snow or anything to be able to blow in there in the winter time, or water to drip underneath, because this is where your steel strapping lays. You got a 2-inch wide band of galvanized thin strapping metal that goes all the way over top of these seams, and it anchors all the way down here to the base. So these are all going to be strapped in, but I want tape underneath it to stop these from leaking. So that's what we're going to do now. And I kind of cobbled up a way to tape these. And I'll show you what I did. This paint roller. I couldn't figure out how to get on top of that greenhouse because you just can't get over there. Even if you put a step ladder up, you got to reach way over to the peak up there. So I'll show you what I do to get this taped. She ain't pretty, but it'll work. All right, so as crazy as this sounds, here's what I do. I take the roller off the paint roller, take off the roller, and I stick the roll of tape, the right way first, right there, and I leave myself a tail on that tape, just like that. I leave myself a tail on there about 16, 18 inches, whatever. And here's what I do. I reach over the top, and I haven't got there just yet. That's just too much of a tail. Take the end of that, right there, line it up, and there, the tape grabs, and then I just center it along this seam as best as I can. And then I take the roller, snap it back on, and I roll that tape on the seam. And I found this to be pretty painless because I don't feel like walking on top of this greenhouse. The structural integrity is not there yet. I don't have my straps on the base. I don't have this thing really reinforced yet. I suppose you could try and climb on this, but I wouldn't do it. So I thought, how the hell am I going to get tape up here to reach way out here? Well, that's how I do it right there. And it works pretty good. I want these, where those polycarbonate panels meet, I want that watertight. I do not want to be sitting inside this greenhouse on a rainy day and having all kinds of water come dripping in that there. It's just, for the money you pay, I don't want anything dripping on my head. So, She ain't rocket science and it works good. So there you go. I'm on the last seam here. And it wasn't until after that first one I figured out, rather than trying to squish it down with my hands, that's why I went with this paint roller too. Not only just the paint roller idea, but you really don't want to drag anything across this UV protected polycarbonate if you can help it. The one side is treated for UV. I don't know how they treat it chemically, whether they treat it on the surface or whether it's a chemical blend right in the plastic or if it's a coating on the outside, I don't know. So rather than drag stuff across this, that's where you roll it with the paint roller, and the roll with the soft roller just drags across your polycarbonate. So that's why I kind of chose this roller too versus trying to, and it keeps a lot of the wrinkles out of the tape. So I just thought I'd share that with you. That's what I found to work good. So just remember, when you're working with this polycarbonate, I'm not the greenhouse engineer, but I can tell you, I'm sure you don't want to be scratching these polycarbonate UV treated panels on the outside. We didn't even lay these polycarbonate UV panels down on the ground or down on the bench without the cover being on one side. And even with the cover on one side down when we were working on them, we did not run that polycarbonate sheeting and drag it around. Even with the protective film, I told MJ, don't do that. We'll just lay them down minimally on the protected side, do what we need to do, and then turn them over. And so I was very particular with this UV protected side on there. So just maybe bear that in mind if you're working not even just on a Planta sun-grow greenhouse like this, but any UV treated plastic. All right, so notice how wrinkly, look in the light, look at how wrinkly that tape is. That's the first one I did with my hand up there. Even though it's sealed both sides, I put like 2 or 3 layers on because I wrinkled it. Well, look how much better. Look at the paint roller and look at the light. There's no wrinkles in that at all. It's nice and even, and that's what you're looking for anyway. So anyway, all right, that one side, this side's done. I only got to do the other side, and we'll just carry on. All right, you guys, thanks for tuning into this greenhouse build, and I'm going to shoot a series of videos on this greenhouse, and we'll show you the progress as we move along. So thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you on the next one.